Hey everyone, how's it going? A couple of you, actually more than a couple of you, many of you have asked me during the past couple of weeks about Felipe Pasadore, about the Argentine playing over in Bolivia. Well, he was playing in Bolivia until he didn't decided not to renew his contract. It's an interesting question because he's been a very, I mean, of course, for a team like San Antonio in over in Bolivia that ends up signing a player that basically didn't have a team, that was looking on social media back in 2022 for a team at 22 years of age, comes to Bolivia, starts tearing it up, ends up helping his team get promoted for the first time ever to the top flight in Bolivian football. They end up going up to the top flight. They end up qualifying and beating one of the biggest teams in Bolivian football, the strongest. Pasador ends up getting a hat trick, and of course, the name just starts rolling and rolling in Bolivian football. And then all of a sudden, next time, a few months later, he ends up emerging, and all of a sudden, he's going to India, or at least that is the rumor that he's being considered. He's in the radar of a team like Kerala Blasters, and I find that particularly interesting for the way that South America has been scouted. I'm not saying that he's not going. I'm not saying that he's coming. I'm not saying anything, as a matter of fact. I'm just saying it's particularly funny because they've usually wanted players in Indian football in general. They've wanted players that have had continuity. And a player that last played in May, and we're already into the month of August, or actually into the month of September, I should say, and you're in need of a player to immediately have an impact, well, that ends up kind of being a bit head scratching. Now, I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying that, but when you have that few numbers or consistent for such a short period of time, and all of a sudden you're getting that type of interest, I kind of shake my head a bit. Now, could he end up tearing it up in the ISL? Absolutely. I think he could. But again, it's the scouting, it's everything else that has emerged over just, I mean, if you look at his statistics, he only have about a year's worth of statistics in a competitive league, in a competitive situation. I think it's 39 matches, and he scored 14 goals, which is not a bad ratio. But it's a very small sample size if you start looking at how some of the other players that have been scouted and been looked, have been observed, and of course, in some cases, even been signed, they've had a much larger trajectory, much longer trajectory. That to me ends up being a bit interesting, to say the least. So again, he seems like an interesting player, a poacher, an area player, a player that can pressure, a player that can take the balls away, a player that can take advantage of mistakes that you do see in certain leagues. That could be quite compelling to look at. We'll see. I mean, I myself am a bit compelled to see if Pasadore does go to the ISL. And of course, ISL starts in just about a little less than 3 weeks from now. How he's going to be ready. Is he going to be ready for kickoff in that first round? That to me ends up being the most compelling issue in terms of an eventual transfer. Keep in mind, he ends up not renewing with San Antonio because he wants to be able to make that next step up, which is extremely logical. But then, of course, the big teams in Bolivia said, no. We're not paying that money. His agent's asking for too much money. That's an unrealistic number for Bolivian football, which is not that far off in terms of wages. And in some cases, maybe even pay more wages than Indian football. I don't know. Maybe the numbers have gone down significantly in the last few months because there's not a lot of information coming out from a South American perspective about Pasadore. I would have thought he would be looked at in Argentine football, if that was Chilean football, Ecuadorian football, whatever the case may be, if that is the case. But again, it ends up being an interesting situation here for a player. I can't say he's a flash in the pan because he did enough throughout his season. Can I say he's a one-season wonder? Well, right now he is. We have to wait and see when he arrives to his next team, whatever that team is. It could be Kerala, it could be any other team in the world, and how he ends up performing. That ends up being something completely different. But we shall see. It's again, I'm glad that you brought up this question. I wish I had better answers. But again, with such a small sample size of matches, maybe he could just work. And maybe he could be a good enough gamble to become a revelation in this upcoming ISL season. Guys, I hope you keep watching. I hope you keep following. I hope you keep subscribing and sharing and doing everything else you need, because it means a great deal to me. I'll have some announcements in the next few months down the road in terms of where we're taking this and where this show will end up being from here on out. Not only just here in South Florida, not only in South America at times where I'm at, but there's other places where you will see me or I will be there recording these videos, and I'm looking forward to it. The announcements will be coming shortly, I should say, and excited for that. So talk to you very soon.